We've got several different stories from several different media outlets. It's time for another episode of the World's Newsround. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with another episode of the World's Newsround, where I cover various stories from outside the UK. The date and time of this is the 21st of May 2024 at around 9 a.m. UK time. And we start here with an article from NBC News regarding Donald Trump and the defense on him. Don't roll your eyes. Trump's defense witness gets a judge warning. And what you missed on day 19 of the hush money trial. The defense efforts to discredit Michael Cohen didn't end where he left the stand. No, things got quite heated in this exchange, and I have to say, you know, they are trying to discredit Michael Cohen. They are trying to discredit him, and I will say that Michael Cohen is obviously how can I put this? He's a bit of a sleaze and a slime bowl himself. Let's be very clear here. He is no good, and obviously the witness, who's come up in trying to try to claim that Michael Cohen was in it on for himself, sort of thing. A staunch defender that comes on, which we'll get into in a moment. Obviously, trying to portray that this is all that this is just another person trying to obviously bring down Trump. And that Trump had nothing to do with any of this payment whatsoever. And it really is kind of a tit for tat, really, on Michael Cohen, because it's like it's only his word. But then again, this is Donald Trump. We're talking about someone who is a known pathological liar. So it's kind of like, you know, who are you going to believe? One liar or one of the biggest liars on the planet? Yeah, I know. Difficult. So after days of trying to dismantle Donald Trump's former fixer Michael Cohen's credibility, the defense began presenting its own case, calling two witnesses that may take up the totality of its presentation. It was during a defensive witness testimony that one of the most heated exchanges of the trial erupted, as attorney Robert Costro grumbled and growled. New York State Judge Joe Michigan grew increasingly irate, asking the jury to leave so he could admonish the witness, and ultimately clearing the court in Manhattan of reporters and cutting off feeds to the overflowed room where the media is assembled. If you don't like my ruling, then don't give me side eyes, and don't you roll your eyes, Merchant said before he asked. Are you staring me down? Merchant then ordered the room cleared. Ooh. Later, Trump implied Merchant had done so to hand the prosecution a break, telling reporters that the highly political and confiscated judge did something that nobody has ever done after Costello began to impugn his highly political motives. Nobody has ever seen anything like this, Trump added. Yeah, okay. Well, you know, if you're going to take a kind of, try to make some kind of joke or mockery or whatever of the whole system, especially with the judge there, you're not exactly going to make things. And the judge was right to kind of slam that down on this as well. The defensive efforts to discredit Cohen didn't end well when he left the stand. The second witness called after a paragirl for the defense team who testified about tracking his phone calls made by Cohen was Robert Costello. He was an attorney who Cohen said had offered him a back channel to Trump after federal authorities searched Cohen's home, office and safety deposit box in 2018. Costello testified that Cohen told him numerous times, "I swear to God, Bob, I don't have anything on Donald Trump," and that he paid Stormy Daniels on his own. It wasn't the first time Costello had provided testimony in this case. He's also testified before the grand jury that indicated that Trump, at the request of Trump's defense team, his testimony at the time didn't persuade the grand jury not to indict. On the stand at Monday, Costello said Cohen appeared absolutely manic after the FBI searched his home and his hotel room. Cohen last week said that he believed he was under pressure campaign by Trump and his allies, and that he was being railroaded to work with Costello, an attorney who he didn't trust, and he would protect Trump at his expense. Trump's lawyers had told Merchant early on Monday that they weren't sure they would call Costello, but they did, and fireworks ensued as he drew repeated objections from prosecutors and ruffled Merchant's typically claimed demeanor. "I'm not going to allow this to become a trial within a trial about a pressure campaign on how it affected Cohen," Merchant swiped at one point. Visibly irritated at the interruptions, Costa mumbled at Mershkin's instruction to control his responses, drawing very foul back from him. Trump's lawyer Todd Blanchard's cross-examination of Cohen sometimes seems to be meaner, but on Monday he appeared to land another blow in his efforts to undermine the witness' credibility. Blanche pressed Cohen on how he lied to the Trump Organization, Chief Financial Officer Alan Weisenberg, about how much was owed to the third party when Cohen felt shortchanged on his bonus. Cohen admitted giving Weinstein the wrong number. "So you stole from the Trump Organization, right?" Blanchard had said. "Yes, sir," Cohen had replied. Cohen said he felt he was owed money after his bonus was cut by 2/3 and embrittled after he went out on a limb for Trump. Personally and financially, it was very upsetting to say the least, Cohen said of the slash bonus. I mean, okay, you're owed money. That's understandable, but stealing money is not exactly the law. You know, just putting that out there. I get. Like he felt that he was owed money, so he thought it was okay to take the money. Prosecutors used their redirect examination trying to restore some of Cohen's credibility after and offered long explanations to answers he gave under Blanche's questioning. Cohen repeated his testimony about Trump's role in the hush money scheme, saying he had no doubt they had discussed the matter with Trump, and Trump had told him to work it out with Weisenberg, and said that he reiterated they wouldn't have paid Daniels without such an assurance. Yeah, and this is the thing. Like, why would Michael Cohen not do this without Trump in the know? Trump surely must have been in the know. This is the thing. He must have been in the know about this. The district attorney's office tried to end it on a personal note, but the stakes for Cohen today are nowhere as close, he said, suggesting there is no need for him to lie. "My life was on the line, my liberty," Cohen said, as was his wife. "Here, I'm just a non-party witness." The schedule was in turmoil at times on Monday when trial proceedings wrapped last week. Merchant told the lawyers to be prepared to deliver closing arguments Tuesday, but before testimony even resumed Monday morning, the end of the trial had already been delayed by another week. That's because it wasn't clear whether witness testimonies was going to be finished by the end of the day, Monday, and whether there would be enough time for closing arguments, jury instructions, and then deliberations to begin before the long holiday weekend. So, Merchant decided to let witness testimony conclude this week, then take off for the holiday. Then, in another twist that was added when the defense and the prosecutors argued over entering a photo from a C-SPAN video. To be able to enter the photo, the prosecution asked to bring in another witness, requesting to do so Tuesday morning, but Trump's lawyers objected, saying they had two witnesses waiting and wanted to conclude by the end of the day. Eventually, they reached an agreement, but Costello's testimony, lengthened by a courtroom clearing, wasn't over until by the end of the day, requiring all parties to return Tuesday morning. As it looks now, Merchant and his lawyers will meet Thursday to discuss jury instructions. The trial will take place Friday and Monday off for Memorial Day, and closing arguments will be next week. So, yeah, we will find out. The closing arguments will probably come next week. So, things will start dumbing down a little bit as we come near to the end of the closing arguments. Obviously, the cases will be put forward, and then obviously it'll be down to the jury to decide what the jury will obviously have to deliberate and all that kind of stuff. That obviously is not all going to come around till next week, unless, of course, unless the defense find a magical witness or something to try and drag this on. But I don't think Trump wants to spend more time in that on trial than he wants to, if I'm honest. So, but it will be obviously when it comes to that point. Obviously, it'll be fascinating to see where it goes. But yeah, Michael Cohen, like he is a dirty dog. We know that. And at the end of the day, he pleaded and cooperated in the end because he kind of had to in the situation that he was in, and that's why he's doing what he's doing, because he's trying to save his own skin as opposed to for anyone else's benefit for that matter. So guys, the next one I've got for you is from CNN. They had an exclusive interview with about the charges against Israel and Hamas. So the ICC prosecutor seeks arrest warrants against Sinwar and Netanyahu for war crimes over the October 7th and Gaza. Let's just have a listen to hear what he had to say. There is a video clip of the full interview, which will be in this article. So if you want to have a listen to the full article, you're more than welcome to do so as well. But we're just going to listen to this two-minute bit here on some of the main crux of the of the case.
The ICC, you are today announcing that you are applying for arrest warrants for top military and political leadership in the Israel-Gaza war since the October 7th events. First and foremost, explain to me exactly what you're asking for and who you are charging.
Today, Christian, we've applied for warrants to the pretrial chamber of the International Criminal Court in relation to 3 individuals that are Hamas members. Sinwar, who's in charge on the ground.
That's Yahya Sinwar?
Absolutely. Dave, who's in charge of the Al-Qasim Brigade, and Hania, who's one of their political bureau based in Doha.
What are the charges?
So just before we get to our question, so so they've made these charges against 3 of Hamas leaders with regards to Hamas, as well as trying to make charges against Benjamin Netanyahu and his foreign minister and 1 or 2 other members of the Israeli government. So this is the kind of this is the reason why they've done this as well, is to perpetrate that their crimes have been broken on both sides. And it's absolutely right that the ICC obviously issue arrest warrants for those in Hamas because of what happened on October the 7th. I don't think we need to repeat it, but obviously it makes sense that those responsible for Hamas and working for Hamas are paid for the crimes that they have caused, the damage to the people that they have harmed on that horrible day.
Charges.
The charges are extermination, murder, taking of hostages, rape and sexual assault in detention. So these are the key crimes that are alleged to have been committed by these 3 individuals. The world was shocked on the 7th of October when people were ripped from their bedrooms, from their homes, from the different kibbutzim in Israel, and people have suffered enormously, and we have a variety of evidence to support the applications that we've submitted to the judges.
The only thing is obviously it does find it a bit weird though that they've only kind of doing this now, as opposed to have not done this sooner, because it doesn't really take what has it been like? It doesn't take 7 months to have this case from the ICC. Like, it might take a month or a few months to do so, but it doesn't take this long. And clearly, this against the Hamas leaders is done in cooperation with also pressing against those in Israel for what they have caused since October the 7th as well.
You have also issued warrants against the top political and military leadership of the government of the State of Israel.
We've applied for warrants. Of course, the judges must determine whether or not to issue them, but we've applied today. We'll apply for warrants for Prime Minister Netanyahu and also Minister of Defense Gallant for crimes of causing extermination, causing starvation as a method of war, including the denial of humanitarian relief supplies, deliberately targeting civilians in conflict.
Yeah, and obviously further down there's a full interview of this if you guys want to listen to the full interview, which I have done already. But the part there where he said about the what they've had done in the prison. So we've covered on this channel, if not here on Rumble, about how Palestinians who have been held captive inside Gaza's prisons, they have been stripped naked, they have been beaten, they've been humiliated, they have been not even given a bucket or anything to go to the toilet in. They have been allegedly sexual assaulted. They have come out of, some have returned into Gaza, bruised, battered, beaten, some with broken bones and limbs of whatnot by the hands of those who have held them in captivity as well. And we have also seen footage of Palestinian men held by IDF as well within Gaza, as they did take it back to prison, stripped down to their underwear as well. And there was a report not too long ago, either I think it was this week or last week, where some were being forced to wear adult diapers to absolutely degrade and humiliate them even more. I've seen the reports from Middle Eastern Eye, which is absolutely shocking. And that there is a lot of evidence, quite a lot of evidence against Israel's government and the handling that they've been looking after Palestinians under their watch, so-called prisoners that they have been treated. Some of them have been absolutely abhorrent, to say the least. So that, and of course the making it difficult for aid to get inside Gaza as well, has been one of the key issues. We know that, and we covered this last week on the channel here, we know that Israeli settlers have ambushed aid trucks and whatnot going through Israel to the Gaza border to stop the aid getting to them. They've literally stopped them, raided them and whatnot to stop those trucks getting there for those fresh supplies and whatnot for people inside Gaza Strip. We know obviously they don't have too much of that issue coming from the Egyptian side, but obviously one of the other issues is that Israel have been very reluctant and very difficult in letting aid inside the Gaza Strip from their border points. They've closed off one recently as well. And obviously that's not helped the famine and the water supplies and what's not inside the Gaza Strip, which has led to many people, not just who have suffered and lost their lives at the hands of Israeli bombardment, allegedly being shot at by IDF forces, but also obviously when it comes to famine, some of them who have been injured and suffered severe injuries as a result of the conflict within the hospitals have died off because they've not been able to get the medicine that they've needed because of the restriction of aid, so restricted of aid being allowed into Gaza, which meant that even more lives have been lost as a result of this. And we're only reaching roughly, according to reports, of about 35,000 people within Gaza have suffered as a result of this, roughly. So that's kind of the situation really there. But let's read a bit more into this, you guys. So the International Criminal Court is seeking arrest warrants for Hamas leader in Gaza, Sinwar, and the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on charges of war crimes and crimes against humanity over the October 7th attack on Israel and the subsequent war in Gaza. The court's prosecutor Imran Khan told CNN's Christine Amanpour in an exclusive interview. Khan said the ICC's prosecution team is also seeking warrants for Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, as well as two other top Hamas leaders, Mohammed Dilib and Imran al-Mansur, the leader of the Al-Qassam Brigade, better known as Mohammed Delif, and Imran al-Hassif, the Hamas political leaders. And if I mispronounce any of the names, I apologise unequivocally. The warrants against the Israeli politicians mark the first time the ICC has targeted a top leader of a close ally of the United States. The decision puts Netanyahu in the company of Russian President Vladimir Putin, for whom the ICC issued an arrest warrant over Moscow's war on Ukraine, and the Libyan strongman Mohammed Gaddafi, who is facing an arrest warrant from the ICC for alleged crimes against humanity at the time of his capture and killing in October 2011. Yes, Mohammed Gaddafi, obviously back then the Egyptian leader. By applying the arrest warrant against Israel and Hamas leaders in the same action, Khan's office risks attracting criticism. It places a terror organisation and elected government on an equivalent footing. A panel of ICC judges will now consider Khan's applicant for arrest warrants. So there is the Hamas leader, Sinwar on the left, and Benjamin Netanyahu, of course, there on the right. Khan said the charges against Sinwar, Hali and Al-Fassil, extermination, murder, taking of hostages, rape and sexual assault in detention. The world was shocked on October 7th when people were ripped from their bedrooms, from their homes, and different. A couple of Israel, Khan told Amanpour, adding that people had suffered enormously. Hamas-led militants killed around 1,200 people across several locations in southern Israel on October 7th and took some 250 hostages into Gaza. Many of the hostages are still being held in Gaza, Khan told Amanpour. This meant crimes continued to be committed against so many innocent Israelis. They are being held hostage by Hamas and families that are waiting for their return. Khan told Amanpour that his team had a variety of evidence to support the application for arrest warrants against Sinwar, Haniya and al-Mashir, including authentic video footage and photographs from the attacks, as well as evidence from eyewitnesses and survivors. Khan said that Israel has every right and indeed an obligation to get hostages back, but he must do so in compliance with the law. Responding to the announcement by Khan, Hamas said that in a statement that it strongly condemns the attempts of the ICC's prosecutors equating victims with aggressors by issuing arrest warrants under a number of Palestinian resistant leaders without legal basis. Hamas calls on the ICC prosecutors to issue arrest warrants against all war criminals among the occupation leaders, officers and soldiers who participate in crimes against the Palestinian people, and demands the cancellation of all arrest warrants issued against Palestinian resistant leaders. The groups added no. That's just silly there to try and get yourselves out of it after what you caused on October the 7th is absolutely nothing short of disgusting and horrific. So just to try and weed your way out of this Hamas is anything but shameful. Don't get me wrong. What Israel have been doing have been atrocious enough, and I've really made that very, very clear. But Hamas should in no way, shape or form be allowed any kind of free pass for what they've caused. The charges against Netanyahu and Galit including causing extermination, causing starvation as a method of war, including the denial of humanitarian relief supplies, deliberately targeting civilians in conflict, Khan told Am Rapport. The fact that Hamas fighters doesn't need water doesn't justify denying water from all civilian population in Gaza, he added. And this is one of the crux of the issue here. What is turning off the taps, turning off the water exactly going to do in terms of this conflict? Yeah, what's the right? Why is it perfectly legitimate and justifiable to deny water to all the civilians of Palestine? There's no justification for this at all. More than 35,000 Palestinians have been killed and more than 79,000 wounded in Gaza since October the 7th, the Ministry of Health of Gaza said on Monday, but CNN cannot independently verify the figures. Netanyahu called the decision a political outrage. Of course he would say that. They will not deter us and we will continue the war until the hostages are released and Hamas is destroyed, he said at a meeting of parliamentary groups of his linking party. Other Israeli officials echoed his sentiments. Benny Gantz, a member of Israel's war cabinet, criticised Khan's decision immediately after announced, saying that Israel was fighting with one of the strictest moral codes in history while complying with international law and boasting a robust independent judiciary. That's absolute BS there about that last bit, because if they had one of the strictest moral codes in history, if they had a robust independent judiciary, then the actions of some of those caused by the IDF and what we've seen the atrocities do, and there have been numerous videos and photo footages across social media showing the atrocities that the IDF have caused to innocent people. We have seen it. There's no denying that. There is no justification for it. So them to say that they are being very strict about it is very hard to read into. Drawing parallels between the leaders of the democratic country determined to defend itself from the despicable terror to leaders of a bloodthirsty terror organization is a deep distortion of justice and blatant moral bankruptcy, he said. Adding that the decision by the prosecutors is in itself a crime of historic proportion to be remembered for generation. The leader of the opposition, Yair Lapid, said the application for the arrest warrant was a complete moral failure. We cannot accept the outrageous comparison between Netanyahu and Sinwar. We will not remain silent, he said. Israeli President Isaac Herzog called it beyond outrageous. When reports surfaced last month that the ICC chief prosecutor was considering this course of action, Netanyahu said that any ICC arrest warrants against senior Israeli government and military officials would be an outrage of historic proportions, and that Israel has an independent legal system that rigorously investigates all violations of the law. Well, like this point here, like we have seen the footage. Like we don't even need to be in Gaza to see the atrocities that are being caused by the IDF. We can see it. The footage is there. It's very clear what's happening in there because we can see it. And that's not even from journalists. That's from people with inside Gaza who are literally just showing with their cameras and phones, putting it onto Twitter, and you can literally see the rubble. You can literally see the damage being caused. You can see what's happening to some of the children. And I've seen the faces and body footages of the children. So to say that they are taking this seriously is again, BS. I'm sorry, it is. They are not, any way, shape or form, living up to the standards in any way. Asked by Amanpour about the comments made by Netanyahu, Khan said nobody is above the law. He said if Israel disagrees with the ICC, they are free, notwithstanding their objections to jurisdiction, to raise a legal challenge before the judges of the courts, and that's what I advise them to do. Yeah, if Israel claim to be it's outrageous and they're completely innocent of this, yeah, why not challenge them? Well, they know they won't challenge them because they know they have no leg to stand on. Israel and the United States are not members of the ICC. However, the ICC claims to have jurisdiction over Gaza, East Jerusalem and the West Bank after Palestinian leaders formally agreed to be bound by the court's founding principles in 2015. The ICC announced on Monday is separate from the case that is currently being heard by the International Court of Justice, the ICJ, over an accusation from South Africa that Israel was committing genocide in its war against Hamas following the October 7th attack. While the ICJ considers the case involved against countries and nations, and the ICC is a criminal court which brings cases against individuals for war crimes and crimes against humanity. Monday's announcement is not the first time that the ICC acted in relation to Israel. In March 2021, Khan's office launched an investigation into possible crimes committed in the Palestinian territory since June 2014 in Gaza and the West Bank. Located in The Hague, Netherlands, was created by a treaty called the Rome Statute. First brought forward before the United Nations, the ICC operates independently. Most countries, 124 of them, are parties to the treaty, but are notable exceptions, including Israel, the US, and Russia. That means if the court grants Khan's application and issues arrest warrants for the 5 men, any country is a member would have to arrest them and extradite them to The Hague. That basically means Netanyahu can't set foot in UK soil because UK are part of that. Under the rules of the court, all signatories of the Rome Statute would have the obligation to cooperate fully with its decision, to make it extremely difficult for Netanyahu and get it to travel internationally, including many countries that are among Israel's closest allies, including Germany and the UK. Sinwar, Helav, and Al-Mashir have been officially designated as a global terrorist by the US, meaning that they are under travel bans, asset freezes, and sanctions. The US, the UK, and Japan, Canada, as well as the European Union and others, have designated Hamas as a terror group and have imposed sanctions on its leaders. It hasn't really done too much those kind of things on the leaders themselves, if I'm absolutely honest. But understandably, I'm glad that these issue arrest warrants are going to be coming out, but is it going to make a difference? No. Is it going to change anything? No. Is Netanyahu going to pay for his crimes? Very highly unlikely. I'm going to say highly unlikely. I believe that America will cover his back in one way, shape, or form. You might think that they will do something, but I really don't have much faith that something is going to be done about it, if I'm honest. But we will have to wait and see, obviously, how this continues on. But the ICC only has so much powers. And yes, it is an international court that everyone should respect. But we do have a situation where it's not always respected, unfortunately, which is frustrating to say the least. So for those who don't know, the gang is here. Ollie, Pingu, Cash Dummy, the Orb and the Lava Lamp are all here in all their glory. They're here. I can't touch Ollie just in case the mic decides to drop or whatever. But if you guys want to support them and support me and support the work that we do here, you can do so by hitting the like button. We greatly appreciate it. Share it across social media so others are notified of this video, and subscribe, because it really does help support the channel. Just doing any of those things, guys, makes a massive difference. So if you could do any of them for me, it'd be greatly appreciated. So thank you to everyone who has done. It really does mean a lot. So this next one, you guys, is from African News. The headline is the US troops depart from Niger. Oh, sorry, I think I've got the wrong piece. I think that's the right one. US troops will depart from Niger by mid-September, the Pentagon has said. So they've said basically that time is running out. The clock is ticking. That the US troops are going to depart from Niger by mid-September, which means it leaves a gaping hole, obviously, in terms of the civil war and conflicts that are taking place within the country. We know that Al-Qaeda and other Islamic fighters are causing havoc in there. And we also know that there are reports, I've seen reports of Russian forces, former Wagner forces specifically in the territory as well. This is obviously not ideal that America has pulled out, but this is something that the people want. And what I will say is, while I understand why people want America out, there are also consequences for that as well. So less Western influence is going to be taken, even less Western influence is going to be in Niger as a result of this decision. So the US and Niger have agreed that American troops will leave the country no later than September the 15th. They announced in a joint statement on Sunday. They said that the two countries have reached a disengagement agreement to effectively the withdrawal of US troops, which has already begun. The US have relied on Niger and its primary base for monitoring regional jihadist activities. The military duo, which seized power last year, has already ordered French troops to leave while moving closer to Russia. Statement commentated the joint sacrifices of Nigerian and US forces in the fight against terrorism, adding that the withdrawal would not affect the continuation of US-Niger relations. The United States and Niger are committed to ongoing diplomatic dialogue to define the future of their bilateral relations, it read. The deal was reached after marathon talks between the two countries in Niamey. In March, Niger announced that its end of its military agreement with the US military spokesperson Colonel Amorous accused the US of raising objections about the allies and that Niger had chosen. Colonel Amdomair condemned the US for its condescending attitude and threats of reprisal. Tensions spiked between the two nations after the elected president Mohamed Bazoum was overthrown last year. Niger is in Africa's Sahel region, considering the new global epicenter of the Islamic State group. American forces have used 2 military bases in Niger to monitor Islamic militant groups in the Sahel. The US built a $100 million military base there 6 years ago in the central city of Algiers in the northeast of Niamey. It has played a key role in the US strategy to combat jihadists in West Africa. The US has more than 1,000 troops stationed at the base. It is the second Western power to withdraw from Niger. Last year, Niger expelled the former colonial power France troops who had been deployed to fight jihadists. As Niger has distanced itself from the West, it has drawn closer to Russia. Last month, Russian military instructors arrived in Niger as part of a new agreement with its military leaders. Niger has also broken away itself from local democracies and has sought stronger regional alliances with fellow Judah-led Burkina Faso and Mali. The trio have quit ECOWAS, the West African global regional body which opposes their military takeovers. They have also quit the French-backed G5 Sahel force, saying that it was ineffectual and undermined African sovereignty, and launched its own defensive pact called the Alliance of the Sahel States. So yeah, them and other nations are pulling further and further away from from Western democracy and diplomacy, which is not good. It's extremely a worrying time, to say the least. Hopefully, they will change over time, but I don't see that happening. You know, the coups obviously that took place there, and the other nations and how they feel about Western influence has been definitely has played a part in that. But obviously, the West has to take its responsibility for the things that it has caused. It has caused a lot of damage. Excuse me. We know that it's caused a lot of damage in Africa. There's no two ways and questions about that. But Russia are not serving in their interest. They're only looking for the interests of their own, and they will exploit and continue to exploit these nations in the belief that they think that by siding closer to Russia, by Russia telling them what they want to know, that their things will get better for them with the West no longer there. I don't see it like that at all, if I'm honest. I really, really don't. And it's very, very, very worrying for that area, for that part of Africa. That is for sure, guys. So the next one I have for you guys is an exclusive. Is that one could be okay? Yeah, it's an exclusive from Reuters here. So as Ukraine, Zelensky pushes allies to step up aid and involvement in the war. So yeah, there's an interview piece here from Zelensky that you can check out here. If you guys want to have a listen, you're more than welcome to. The links in the description. But just some of the key things from it. Western allies are taking too long to make effective key decisions on military support for Ukraine. President Volodymyr Zelensky told Reuters in an exclusive interview in Kiev on Monday. He also said he was pushing partners to get more directly involved in the war by helping to intercept Russian missiles over Ukraine and allowing Kiev to use Western weapons against enemy military equipment amassing near the border. The call to accelerate aid to push so-called red lines of engagement in this conflict reflect the ongoing pressure Zelensky forces are under along more than 1,000 kilometers of front line in northeast, east and south of the country. An impassionate Zelensky, addressed in his formal Kigali t-shirt and trousers, said the situation on the battlefield was one of the most difficult he had known since the start of Russia's full-scale invasion in February 2022. In recent weeks, Moscow troops had made incursions into northeast Ukraine, further testing Kiev's already stretched defences, and at the same time Russia has taken territory in the eastern Donbass region and at sometimes fierce battles. A very powerful wave of fighting is going into the Donbass, and no one even notices that there is actually more battles in the east of the country, specifically the Donbass region, Koskos, Pruskits, Chavit, and Chavis Yar. Yeah, there have been, obviously, we've seen on the deep state map of arrows there, so there are obviously indications that they have tried to push into there. We have seen it on deep state map in the past. They have tried to make those breakthroughs, and they've not been unsuccessful to doing so. However, we do know, obviously, within Avika and Donetsk, they know they've been pushing, making grounds there. He added, however, the situation north of Kharkov was now under control. The 46-year-old was speaking on the 5th anniversary of his inauguration as president. He was not contesting. He has not contested elections because of martial law imposed due to the invasion. Zelensky called for faster military aid from the US and other partners. Western ammunition from a recent past US package is now arriving in Ukraine, but it was delayed for months by internal political wrangling. I will say, just in terms of, obviously, Ukraine not being able to have elections because of, obviously, this war, it makes total sense for them not to have this war, not to have an election until this war is decided. Whether it's by negotiations of peace, if it's by negotiations with what territory they have left, or by pushing Russia out of the territory and suing for peace, one of those two things. Yeah, you can't have an election with what's happening right now. Every decision in which we and then later everyone together comes to late is by around 1 year, said Zelensky. But it is what it is. One big step forward, but before 2 steps back. So we need to change the paradigm a little. Zelensky said he warns his partners to be more directly involved in the war, but understood were wary of antagonizing Russia. But they're already antagonizing Russia because they're sending weapons, equipment, and whatnot to support Ukraine. So technically, we are complicit in this war either way. It's a question of will, he said, but everyone says a word that sounds the same in every language. Everyone is scared of escalation. Everyone has gotten used to the fact that Ukrainians are dying, and that's not escalation for people. He proposed that the armed forces of neighbouring NATO countries could intercept incoming Russian missiles over Ukrainian territory to help Kiev protect itself. Yeah, so one of the things that he has said, he's asked basically for NATO and Western allies to basically cover the skies as well. That was something that he asked for as well, which they rejected. They don't want to be directly involved. I think if France could, they would. If Macron could, he would do it. But yeah, I can understand. But at the same time, it's like, well, when is enough enough? When is something going to be done? When are we going to? How much more of this is going to take? Because generally, people up and down the whole of Europe and America are fed up of this continuously happening. They do want a solution to this. We want to know what's the end game here, because right now there doesn't appear to be one. Russia has fired thousands of missiles and drones at Ukraine since the start of the wider conflict, and air defences are a priority for Kiev. Russians are using 300 planes over on the territory of Ukraine. We need at least 120, 130 planes to resist the skies, he said. Ukraine is waiting for the delivery of US-designed F-16s, which have yet to be used in anger. He said if countries could supply the planes straight away, they could still fly them from neighbouring NATO states and shoot down Russian missiles. The Ukrainian leader also said Kiev was negotiating with international partners to use their weapons to strike military hardware at the border and further inside Russian territory. So far, that there is nothing positive, he said. Russian President Vladimir Putin would like to view such developments as escalatory. He cast the war as an existential battle with a declining and a decedent West, in which he says humiliating Russia after the Berlin Wall fell in 1989 by encroaching on what he considered Moscow's sphere of influence, including Ukraine. Ukraine and the West rejected such an interpretation, calling the invasion an unprovoked land grab. Zelensky reiterated that he had not broken agreements with allies and not to use their weapons inside Russia. We can put the whole volume of weapons at risk. Ukraine is gearing up for international talks in Switzerland next month that will exclude Russia and are aimed to try and unify and harden opinion against Moscow. Putin said he believes the talks may convert Ukrainians' demands for a Russian withdrawal into an ultimatum for Russia, a strategy he said would fail. Zelensky said it was crucial to get as many countries around the table as possible. And then Russia will have to answer to the majority of the world, not Ukraine. No one says that tomorrow Russia will agree, but more importantly that we have the initiative. Beijing has yet to say whether it will participate, although the Chinese President Xi Jinping and Putin met last week in China and pledged a new era of partnership between the two most powerful rivals of the United States. It is very important to me that they are there, says Zelensky, because in principle, after the summit, it becomes clear who wants to end the war, who wants to remain strong relations with Russian Federation. On US politics, he sought to dampen concerns that any win for Republican candidate Donald Trump in November's election could spell trouble for Ukraine. Trump is a Ukraine aid skeptic who has stressed American first policy. I don't believe that Republicans are against support for Ukraine, but some messages are coming from their sides raise concerns. Zelensky, a former comedian, said he would let other judge his performance as a leader of a country at war, but he expressed his gratitude to the Ukrainian people for their stoicism in the face of adversity. He's also insisted that Ukraine could still win the war despite setbacks in recent months. I think we need to walk this path to the end, preferably a victorious one, he said. Even though today people look somewhat skeptical at the word victory, I understand it's difficult because it's long. Excuse me. And it does feel like a long battle. And it feels like they're one that's never going to end and it's just going to keep going and going and going. And I get that. I get the fear. I get how people feel about the war. I generally hope that the summit that China does at least turn up and Zelensky can have a discussion at least, just a discussion of talks with Xi Jinping, at least, something like that. I don't expect China to do anything. Don't expect anything to come of it, but I think it would help that Zelensky would have a discussion with the Chinese leader and explain to him, look, we don't want any more people to die. I'm sure you don't want any people dying. Can we not talk about this, And, at the end of the day, they were provoked, they were attacked by Russia. Let's be clear about this. That's a very important point to make as well in this. But it is interesting to hear Zelensky's point of views. He's saying that not enough that everything is being slow when it comes in. I think with the US, without a shadow of a doubt, the aid, and obviously he's trying to play down any kind of any kind of thing if Trump comes into power, obviously doesn't want to do anything to strain any kind of relationship with Republicans. But the fact is that they are very skeptical and some may have links to Russia as well. So it's not good. It's not good at all. So guys, we're going to take a little break here from the World Newsround here. I hope you guys enjoyed this little funny video. My voice has been all over the place today. I do apologise. We've got a couple more stories for you guys here on the World Newsround. This one here is from Foil, and I hope you guys enjoyed this funny one here. It's the headline of renting a car can be quite the nightmare.
Hi.
Hi.
Reserved a car. Reservation 457.
Oh, yes, the Volkswagen Polo?
Yes.
Yes, I'm actually afraid we do not have the Volkswagen Polo right now, but we do have a similar model.
Okay.
Yeah, we have the Horunzi Pico.
Oh, the Horunzi.
Horunzi, yeah.
I've never heard of that brand.
No one has.
But they're similar.
Yeah, but they're in the same range.
In the same range.
The Horunzi now has 3 wheels.
3 wheels.
Yeah, but it does have 7 gears, so...
I booked a Polo.
Well, actually, you booked a Polo or similar, so...
And you think they're similar?
Well, they both have 3 wheels.
A Polo has 4 wheels.
But it also has 3.
Could I just have the keys, please?
Oh, no. This whole thing is going to take ages.
Right.
Would you like any additional insurance cover?
No, thank you.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Windscreen cover?
No, thank you.
Key cover?
No.
Excess cover?
No, thank you.
Off-road cover?
No.
Tunnel cover? Rain
No.
insurance?
Rain insurance.
Yes, well, in case it rains, well, then you'd be covered.
Shouldn't the roof do that?
Not in the Horunzi. Would you be interested in purchasing insurance?
Insurance for insurance.
Yes, well, in case there's a problem with your insurance, well, then you'd be insured.
No, thank you.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. It's your choice. You're clearly happy to take the risk.
What?
Take the risk. I should warn you, though, any scratches greater than or equal to 0.225 millimeters in diameter or 0.02 millimeters in depth will be charged at the standard rate of €150. But I'm sure you'll be absolutely fine. You seem like an excellent driver.
I don't think I'm going to scratch it.
Of course you won't. And if you do, don't worry, we'll be there. With a ruler. Or in the case of larger scratches, a trundle wheel.
Well, like I said, I'm a careful driver.
Of course you might be, but what about other people? I hear car parks are a nightmare. All those tight spaces, they've really got you wedged in. But I'm sure you'll manage. There are existing scratches on the vehicle itself, here, and here, and 10 additional scratches that we are not going to tell you about. You're just going to have to find them for yourself. Mystery.
Can I have the keys, please?
Not yet. Now, under the terms of the agreement, please return the vehicle with a full tank of fuel, clean, all tolls paid, and on time.
Do you want me to do your shopping for you as well?
Just make sure it has a full tank of fuel.
Is there a petrol station nearby?
Oh yes, there's one just around the corner.
Okay, so I can fill it up there.
Well, you could, but it is around the corner, so it's not going to be a full tank.
It's just around the corner.
Yeah.
So it can never be a full tank.
No. But don't worry, we can fill it up using our own fuel.
Which is more expensive.
But it's dead handy. There's a petrol station just around the corner.
Can I please just get the keys?
Yeah, sure. Here you go.
Thank you.
Your car is in Bay 15, so just grab the shuttle bus to Zone 7.
Where's the shuttle bus?
It's in Section B, beside Area 2.
How do I get there?
You take a shuttle bus from just outside here, or I can order you a taxi.
Why don't I just rent a car?
Just make sure when you exit the rental area that you go via the official rental gates.
How do I know which ones are the gates?
Oh, well, they're about this wide. Fantastic. Well,
Yeah.
I hope you have a great holiday, stress-free, and you enjoy yourself and relax
Yeah.
without insurance.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll see you 1 p.m. on Friday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, great.
No worries.
Thanks for all your help.
No
Yeah.
problem. Oh, and John,
Yeah.
25 millimeters.
Hey, just looking to return my Runzi.
Fantastic. Just park it in Bay 17.
Oh, that won't be necessary. That's all that's left.
Did it rain?
Yeah.
So I think it's one we've done before, but yeah, it's a nice throwback one there. I hope you guys enjoyed that one. Yeah, that was a good one, that is for sure. Oh dear, oh dear. So guys, if you haven't already, please consider becoming a YouTube member. You can be a YouTube member for as little as 99B. Being a YouTube member gets you access to custom emojis for part of the channel. You can find it financially supports me, and it makes a massive difference and allows me to do the work that I do here, covering lots of news and politics. Every short videos every 6 hours, both on here and other social media platforms, as well as providing new videos, live streams and premieres for you guys, and that can only be able to be done by the financial support that you guys do. So if you haven't already, please consider becoming a YouTube member. Also, you get access to community members posts as well, and also whenever you comment on any of my videos as a YouTube member, you will always get a response from me on any of my videos. So just remember that. If you are a $2.99 membership, so that is a Snowflake Corporal, if you want to apply for that membership, you get early access to my content, which means that you'll get it before anybody else comes out, barring any monetization issues. Once I finish and create a video, made the video and uploaded it, I just give YouTube a little bit of time just to check there's no monetization issues before it becomes available for members, before it becomes scheduled regularly time slot on the channel. So thank you to everyone who are YouTube members. It greatly appreciate. If you didn't want to support me that way, there are other financial ways you can support me as well by buying me a coffee. The link is in the description down below if you want to do it that way, or you can join me on Patreon. You can join me on Patreon for a small amount, and I actually get a bigger cut from Patreon than I do from YouTube, and you also get access to exclusive content being a part of the Patreon community as well. So thank you to my Patreons who are members on there. It's greatly appreciated as well. So just to get those little plugs out the way, thank you to everyone who's listened to them, and if you are members or super chats or any of that kind of stuff, really does make a massive difference as well. So if you want to do any of those, thank you very much. It is greatly appreciated. Right, so this next one, guys, obviously I have done a shorts video on it, but I just wanted to, I've done a short video on it already, but I wanted to talk about this a little bit as well. So the Iranian announced a 5 days of mourning after the President Raissi's death. So the President Imran Raisi and the Foreign Minister Hossein Amarvilli, don't ask me to pronounce the name, were killed in a helicopter crash in poor weather. Now, is this just a case of was this just a case of an terrible accident, or was this more to it? This is the question I think people are kind of asking here. Was this intentional, and what are the ramifications for it? Now, lots of people have come out and saying that Iran is in chaos and that the country is in chaos and whatnot, and I'm like, not, yes, a lot of Western media are stating that, but is that actually happening within Iran? Are we hearing a lot of that from the people? Are we hearing that from sources a lot closer? A lot of Western media are saying this, but is that really the case? So let's read what Al Jazeera, who cover a lot of stuff in the Middle East, will have a much better indication on this. So Iran has declared 5 days of mourning in the memory of President Imran Raisi, the Foreign Minister Hossein, and other Iranian officials who were killed in the helicopter crash. Many Iranians packed into mosques and squares on Monday to pray for the officials who died on Sunday when the helicopter they were traveling in crashed in poor weather in mountains near the border of Azerbaijan. The Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, who holds ultimate power with a final say on foreign policy and Iran's nuclear program, said the first Vice President Mohammad Mokbar will take over as interim president, the official the IRNA news agency have reported. I announced 5 days of public mourning and I offer my condolences to the dear people of Iran, Khamenei said in a statement. Mokbar, like Raisi, is seen close to Khamenei. The body of Raskin, 63, and 60 and other officials and staff were being transported to Tabriz, the capital city of Iran's East Azerbaijan province. A memorial service will be held in the city on Tuesday, local media have reported. Iran's state television said all government offices and private business in the country will be closed on Wednesday to coincide with the funeral for the victims. Raskin will be buried in Moscow, the city where he was born, and on Thursday, the state TV reported. Leaders from the United States, European Union, Russia and China are among those who have conveyed their condolences to the family of the Iranian leaders. Interesting that the EU, US have done so. We expected that from Russia and China. It's interesting. Some have offered their condolences and some have not. An election to choose a new president will take place on June the 28th, with candidates to be registered from the 30th of May to the 3rd of June, Iranian state media has reported. No signal on color. The charred wreckage of the helicopter was found early on Monday after an overnight search in a blizzard. Turkish Transport Minister Yurgutov said the helicopter either did not have its signal system turned on or did not have such a system. Yurgutov reports that because of Iran fell within Turkey area for responsibility for emergency responses, authorities had to check for a signal from the helicopter upon hearing news it had crashed. But unfortunately, we think most likely the system was turned off, or that the helicopter did not have a signal system, because those signals would definitely see those signals, but they didn't, he said. Until our country heads to the polls in June, Mohammed Kalber will govern the country's interim president. Ali Barish-Kandi will serve as foreign minister. The judiciary, the legislative branch, as well as the executive branch are being controlled by more right-leaning conservatives in Iran currently. Rezek Al-Akbita, Middle East and North African program manager at the Institute of War and Peace reporters, told Al Jazeera. So some analysis believe Russia's death may be open up room for more traditional conservative candidates to make an attempt at the office of the presidency. On the global stage, Zelenskiy and that has spent almost 3 years establishing themselves as the face of Iran. But their passing will likely not signal a major shift in Iran's foreign policy, according to Akbi. The National Security Council in Iran, the supreme leader when it comes to certain foreign policy files, the IRCC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, bureaucratically and institutionally speaking, set Iran's foreign policy agenda, Akbi had said. So they are saying that obviously there will be change at the top, obviously, for sure, but there will not be too much of a change in terms of foreign policy. But there will be obviously other things be occurring. Obviously, there will obviously be a change there'll be a new president, which would mean there obviously maybe a change in change in some direction on some things. But is it going to make a massive difference? I don't know. Is what I'm going to say. Don't know enough about Iran policies enough, or politics wise, to know enough about it. I think the best thing to say is obviously, offer my condolences to friends and family of those who lost their loved ones in the crash, regardless of how you feel about them and their history. And I think we'll have to just obviously wait and see what will happen with regards to the presidency once the funeral and whatnot is done, who takes over as president and how they respond to the current situation in the Middle East, and how relationships will be going forward with other nations, obviously, because when there's a change at the top, sometimes it can also open up new relationships, perhaps. So let us hope it comes to that. So this next one I got for you guys, it's a couple of days old, but I wanted to cover it here on you. This one is from Barline Times here. And this is regarding what's happening in Georgia. So the Georgian president vetoed of Russian law sets the stage for a government showdown with Western partners. So the president, Samuel Zuwabishki had announced that her veto of the ruling Georgian Dream Party controversial law on foreign influence almost 2 weeks earlier than expected. Here. So Nada Pazis made a name for herself in January after throwing paint on a new religious icon featuring Joseph Stalin at the Tbilisi Sambar Cathedral, the late Soviet despoton appearance at one of the Georgian Orthodox Church's principal seat of power representing. For a career activist, a symbol of her country's backward spiral into authoritarianism. Tonight, confirmed to Byline Times, she has now fled Georgia amid signs that the steady spiral, having since accelerated to dizzy spin. Sources had informed her the ruling Georgian Dream Party were allegedly planning to arrest her for plotting a coup, following her role in the ongoing protests against the government's controversial Russian law. Critics say of the draft law, which requires independent media and NGOs receiving more than 20% of their funding from abroad to register as agents of foreign influence, represent an analogue of measures used by the Kremlin to crush dissidents since the launch of Putin's war in Ukraine. As such, the EU has warned the bill's passage into law will put an end to the country's prospects of one day joining the bloc, with the massive resulting demonstrations testament to the level of support from accession from roughly 90% of the Georgian public. The United States, too, has promised a comprehensive package of sanctions and freezes to the government aids should the measures go ahead. To grasp how Georgia, where more than a fifth of the territory has been occupied by Russian forces since the fall of the Soviet Union, arrived at this pivotal moment in its independent history, it is crucial to understand that the overwhelming control of public life exerted by Georgian Dreams oligarch founder Beliskas Alavishki. Byline Times has previously spoken to sources with access to the billionaire businessman's inner circle. The party has apparently reintroduced their foreign influence bill after a disastrous abhorrent first attempt to push it through last March. Because Arnavishki believes that he is already under the de facto sanction from the West for his long-standing ties to powerful Russian interests. The measures, these sources say, will allow Arnavishki to shield his assets from watchdog scrutiny as he prepares to move his vast offshore assets into Georgia so as to protect his fortune in anticipation of subsequent future actions by the US and the EU. Events to date offer a grim foreshadowing of what may be to come should the bill, which sailed comfortably through the third reading in Parliament earlier on Tuesday, indeed pass into law. In the midst of a mounting Belarusian-style crackdown, dozens of government critics have been savagely beaten by riot police, special forces, and Tuski's Hyde Street thugs, while hundreds of others have received menacing anonymous phone calls or woken to find their profiles plastered all over the streets on posters decrying them as enemies of the people. Against a backdrop of deepening civil turmoil and growing international outcry, Georgian Dream have begun to show fake signs of willingness to come to the table with the US and EU representatives over the proposed law. Parliamentary Speaker Shavi Pasagrisky said last week that should President Zelenskiy, herself fiercely pro-European and a leading figure in talks to establish a new popular front against Georgian Dream ahead of the elections in October, insisting on negotiations as part of her anticipated veto of the bill, then the legislative body would undertake to meet with Western parts to provide they offer acceptable recommendations. However, it has since come to light that reservations were quietly made to the bill's provisions ahead of the most recent vote, granting authorities an alarming view of evasive new powers to be used against the law's targets. While the original draft covered only legislation, it now includes penalties of up to 5,000 Georgian currency, or 1,435 in a country where the average monthly salary is £371 for foreign-funded individuals who do not provide information requested of them. Theoretically, this could extend not only to personal files, emails and phone messages, but also, according to constitutional lawyers, and data otherwise subject to strict legal protections, including medical records and even details of personal sexual relationships and preferences. Yeah, this is too much information for a government to be holding. Just gonna go put that out there. Following those developments, Zelenskiy elected to announce her wholesale rejection of the law not in 2 weeks' time, as originally expected, but earlier this evening, late last night, her supporters have since praised it as a prudent and calculated decision, despite being little more than a technicality in legislative terms, as it leaves little to no further room for Georgian Dream to manoeuvre with talks of negotiating or otherwise differing their proposals. And now, with the stages now set for one of the most important decisions Georgia's government has faced since the foreign agents' furlough began more than a month ago, whether to bow out of what little remains of their political credibility, both at home and abroad, or to hold fast on their present course, barreling forward towards the mounting likelihood of international sanctions and taking the Jordan people's dream of EU ascension with them. And that is the question. Now, obviously, this was a couple of days ago, so I've not seen an updated report. Excuse me, I try not to sneeze. I've not seen an updated report, obviously, since. Excuse me, jeez. I normally do 7 in a row, so that's the normal amount. My sincere apologies. I don't know what's going to happen with Georgia. I really don't know. The government just going to keep pushing with this. I feel like they're just going to keep trying to push this through, and they're going to do everything they can to make it go through. They said they might show concessions. Whether they will or not, I don't know. They may have had some negotiations with Western leaders potentially at the time of this recording, but I've not seen them or heard about them. So if you have, let me know in the comments down below. But they want to closer ties with Russia. They don't want closer ties with the EU. They want to take the people away from the prosperous and the prosperity that what it is and what it means to be a part of the European Union, what it means to be a part of the Western world, and to have that kind of connection with their Europe will be taken away from them if this comes to pass, this law. They feel their country being taken away from them. That's how generally the people there feel. The vast majority do. Some are not saying anything in silence because they're afraid of being targeted. Obviously, if this law passes, Georgia will become just like Belarus down eventually. That is the path it will eventually be down, and the people of Belarus are silent because they can't say anything, and that will be what will happen to the people of Georgia, which is horrible to say the least, obviously, for anyone in that matter. So, guys, we've got. Let me just make sure I've got. So we'll cover some stories now with regarding the war in Ukraine, but let's just check on the gang here. How are you guys doing? They're all right. You can see the lava lamp has formed. The orb is still quite strong. Ollie's not very happy about what's happening with some of the stories that we're covering today. He's very, very grumpy about some of them. But yep, the gang is here. So if you want to support the gang behind me, make sure you hit the like button, share across social media, comment, all that stuff, guys. Makes a big difference. So this first article here I've got from the Kiev Independent is Spain announces an aid package for Ukraine containing Leopard tanks and Patriot missiles. Spain doing its part. Spain's preparing a new aid package for Ukraine. The Spanish Defense Minister Margot Robles announced on May the 20th during the US-led Ukrainian Defense Contact Group, the UDCG meeting, also known as the Ramstein format. The new package will contain the second batch of Leopard tanks, which will be delivered by late June, 155 artillery shells, a new shipment of Patriot anti-aircraft missiles, anti-drone, ironic surveillance and tracking systems, and remote weapon turrets. Rebels said that in the long term, the upcoming signal of bilateral security agreement will also reinforce support for Ukraine. President Volodymyr Zelenskiy was due to travel to Spain in mid-May to sign a bilateral security agreement, but Ukraine's presidential postponed all international events as Russia forces launched a new offensive on May the 10th in northern Kharkiv Oblast. The Spanish government has not officially revealed the total amount of military aid to Ukraine. In March, Spanish State Trade Secretary Gillian Mendes said that Spain had provided the Ukrainian military with over 190 million euros, that's $206 million, in aid, according to the radio station Catalan SCR. The earlier supplies to contain 10 Leopard tanks and 8 high-speed patrol boats, as Canada SCR had reported. Spain has also delivered Patriot anti-aircraft missiles in early May as well. So I'm not sure how good the boats are, considering how strong the dominance that they have right now on in the Black Sea. It's kind of difficult for them for that. Just a couple of news articles here as well. So this one's just come up. Moldova has signed an EU pact on defensive security. Moldovan Prime Minister Dolan Riscum, the European Union's top diplomat Joseph Borrell, signed a security and defence partnership on May 21st, he said on X. Moldova has become the first country to sign a document with the EU, which is designated to enhance the country's resilience. Tusk has moved closer to Europe and amid worries that the Kremlin is attempting to carry out a destabilising campaign in the country. Moscow-Moldovan relations have soured since the start of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, with fears that Russian aggression may spill over via Transnistria, a Moldovan territory where Russian troops have been stationed since the early 1990s. Its partnership will allow jointly address common security challenges, make our engagement more effective, and explore new areas of cooperation, Borrell has said. The partnership will function as an umbrella mechanism for all interactions between Moldova and the EU, including the spheres of cybersecurity, countering disinformation, defence, and Moldovan foreign military said. The document does not have the status of international treaties and is based on political commitments. Moldova and France signed a bilateral defence deal in March, days after Moldova's intelligence agency warned that Russia would seek to destabilise the country as it prepares for a presidential election and a referendum on EU membership. President Mala Sadu will run for re-election in October. Sadu has put the country on a decisive pro-EU course, helping secure Ceausescu's membership candidacy and accession talks. So they're obviously keen to keep close ties as much as possible with Europe and to try and keep themselves astray as much as they possibly can from Russia's grip. This one here, so it's a piece. It's actually from Reuters, but Germany plans to build up Ukrainian military aid by 3.8 billion euros apparently. So the German government plans to up its military aid to Ukraine by another 3.8 billion. So that would take it to $4.13 billion in 2024. Reuters had reported today, citing its undisclosed source. The news agency confirmed in an article earlier by the tabloid Bleed, which also said that the sum of over 7 billion euros previously approved by Germany's parliament for this year has been almost entirely allocated to various projects. As only around 300 million euros are left for additional weapons or ammunition purposes, Defence Minister Boris Pistorius has requested additional funds for the backing of Finance Minister Christian Lindgaard, Bild had reported. Final approval will be required by Parliament in June. Initially criticised for its sluggish delivery of military aid, Ukraine followed the beginning of the full-scale invasion. Germany has become the second largest provider of military equipment after the US. Also on May the 21st, Germany's Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock arrived in Ukraine's capital for a previous unannounced visit. Upon her arrival, Baerbock underscored Ukraine's need for air defences to help repel Russia's aerial attacks. Russian missile terror, consistent air alerts, permanent power outages, hardly any water. The situation in Ukraine has once again escalated drastically with the massive Russian airstrikes on the civilian infrastructure and the brutal Russian offensive in the Kharkiv area, the minister had said. That's why, together with Defensive Minister Boris Pistorius, I launched a global initiative for more air defence. Almost €1 billion has now been raised to provide additional support for the Ukrainian air defence forces. And we are working intensively to ensure that there is even more. Berlin launched the initiative in April and amid Kiev's increasingly dire need for air defences facing heavy Russian aerial attacks against population centres and the energy grid. A number of countries have already backed the initiative since then, including Belgium, Denmark, Canada, the Netherlands, Norway and others. Germany has also pledged to deliver its third Patriot air defence system to Ukraine. Another one here, just a drone attack in Kherson Oblast injures 3 elderly women apparently here. This is today. A Russian drone dropped explosives on the village of Alavika in Kherson Oblast on today, injuring 3 people, the governor has said. The women aged 69, 75 and 76 were reportedly hospitalised with mine blast and shrapnel injuries. No further details were provided at the moment of time. Ukraine's armed forces liberated Alavika and other Kharkiv Oblast settlements on the west bank of the Dnipro River in the fall 2022 counter-offensive. Russian troops were pushed to the river's east bank, where they have since been firing at liberated territories, regularly resulting in civilian deaths as well as large-scale destruction of homes and infrastructure. Russian attacks killed 1 person and 3 others in the region over the past day, according to Pushkin as well. Just seeing anything else here. There's this one here. So there's reports that 10 Ukrainian soldiers have completed their F-16 maintenance training in the Netherlands here. So this story is still being updated. 10 Ukrainian soldiers had completed training for the F-16 aircraft maintenance in the Netherlands. The Dutch Defence Ministry had announced today. The Netherlands has pledged to deliver 24 of its fourth-generated US-made jets to Ukraine as Kiev seeks to bolster its air force. The soldiers practice servicing all the important parts of a fighter pilot, including oxygen system, helmet, parachute on board, the ministry said. The training also includes assembling and testing an emergency rescue package. The F-16 pilots basically trust their lives to the military personnel who maintain their aircraft when they take off, when they know they can rely on the knowledge and skills of the people that the aircraft is in working order, the Dutch ministry had said. Netherlands plans to start delivering its X-16 fighter jets to Ukraine this autumn. Dutch Defence Minister Carlos Olgun said in early May. Denmark, Belgium and Norway have also pledged to supply Ukraine with dozens of F-16 jets. Denmark, Netherlands and the US have led an international coalition establishment last year to provide Kiev with F-16 fighter jets and train Ukrainian pilots. Several countries have also made some of their F-16s available for training Ukrainian pilots. CNN reported in February that the first group of Ukrainian pilots is scheduled to complete the US-led training of X-16 jets by this summer. So some of these could be up and running by summertime, potentially. That's what they're saying there. Just seeing if there's any other major ones that's worth covering. It doesn't look like it there. We'll have a quick look just before we wrap things up. I'm going to have a quick look at the Kiev independent map for us, guys. Just give me 1 second. Let's make sure that it's updated. So it's still obviously the date and time for this. The date and time is on this one. The latest update is from yesterday, of course, at 21:58. That is the latest report here. So, no. Playing too many buttons. I'm playing with too many buttons here. So I'm just going to scroll back out for you guys here. So this is the situation right now. There we can see in terms of the current conflict here, the deep state map. The link is in the description if you ever want to have a look at it for yourself. So we can see there, obviously the Dynamo River obviously playing a key role down here. Obviously it would be fantastic if they were to cut off point and get cut off point there, if they could get somehow get to Crimea, but that's neither here nor there. But obviously it's not at the moment, obviously. So for those who don't know, the green color, guys, is obviously territory that Ukraine took back after the that's interesting, that they took back after the counteroffensive last year, the counteroffensive that Ukraine had taken. So all the green that you can see highlighted was territory that they have taken back here. And it looks like here, we're not very much familiar with this. So it looks like they're trying to push from Russian territory here. Yeah, this is new. Yeah, this is a new offensive they just managed to build here. This has been we've not seen this, but I've not seen this, but it looks like they're breaking here at the top here. That's interesting to know there. There doesn't look like, apart from, obviously they've still been trying to poke holes here. They have made, they've not really made too much progress here. A little bit, but very, very small, but not a lot, obviously, up there in that region. How have they done in Bakhmut? Let's see, have they moved anything there? So just going to pull it back a little bit. Have we seen too much movement? No, it doesn't look like that. While Ukraine have managed to hold here for the past couple of days along that line here, so nothing too much has moved along there. Obviously, Avika, we've covered this one extensively whenever we do this date-state map. Have they been able to make much here? So I'm just going to pull this a couple more days back. So it has been quite a few days since we got. So this is from the 10th. So if we go forward, we can see a bit below there that they have made some tiny little movements again. But here, specifically here, guys, that area there, we can see that they've not made too much movement there. But they obviously have been, Ukraine have obviously been trying to hold it obviously as much as they possibly can there. Has there been any movement here? Let's have a quick final look here to see if there's been any movement. Obviously we saw there's been a little bit pushing down there on the right hand side of the map, as you can see on the screen here. But yeah, this here, Vesky Noskiska and Ostrovic here, has there been much movement here? Doesn't look like it again. So there was a little bit, wasn't there? Was tiny, not really too. It's the smallest of fractures. So, but nothing really too serious. So it has, the gains have, there are still gains taking place for Russia, but nothing massive. But that bit from Belgorod Oblast there, from Belgorod, that breakthrough up there to north of Kharkov, that's a very worrying concern, because obviously they would love to take the rest of Donetsk, Zaporizhzhia, Kharkov. That's the kind of the land grab that they want to kind of push into, if possible, by the end of the year. They have goals that they want to set by the end of the year, Russia, of territory taking. But the sooner that more of this air defense and aid package comes in, the better. That will help delay and push back, hold back the frontier. And obviously, sometime next year, they're looking to plan some kind of counter-offensive. Cross fingers that they can push back some of the territory that they lost before, and hopefully not be too ambitious like they were last time. Be a bit more strategic with their counter-offensive the following year, because if that is what they are planning. And please don't give any clues away to the media whatsoever. Let the media speculate and just keep it quiet and decide when you guys want to push, is what I would say, when they do it. But this is, once again, continuously ongoing. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see what happens at the summit in Switzerland. Will China attend? Will Zelensky be able to make any... will make, obviously, concessions with other leaders about getting more weapons and supplies and whatnot, and trying to push for more anticipation from EU partners to try and be more involved in the conflict. Obviously, that's a bit difficult for them to do so, because everybody's a bit scared of causing escalation when things are already kind of escalated as it is. People want a solution to this conflict, but I will continue to cover it as best as I possibly can for you guys. But I always say that always check out the Kiev Independent. There are plenty of other sources to what's happening in the war in Ukraine, but I'll try and keep you guys up to date as much as I can. And if possible, obviously, we'll look at the deep state map and what's happening on Friday as well. So, guys, I just want to say, what's that, Ollie? Ollie would like to say thank you for coming today. I'm going to turn him around upside down, so he's going to smile on our way out. Don't turn red. So all the gang are here: Pingu, Cash Dummy, Ollie, the Orb, and the Lava Lamp. I'd like to say thank you guys for all coming to today's show. What did you guys make of the World Newsround that we covered today? What did you guys make of some of the stories we talked about? We talked about Michael Cohen and the testimonies that he's had, the Trump trial that continues, the ICC prosecution. What do you guys make of the situation with those? US troops obviously going to be pulling out of Niger at some point. The interview that Zelensky's had with veterans, the loss of the president of Iran and the implications that are going to be around it, the Georgian president, and what's going to be happening with Georgia, and of course the current update in the war in Ukraine. Let me know your thoughts and more about all these stories in the comment section down below. But just before you go, if you can, just do one more thing before you guys head out. If you haven't already, please hit the like button. We greatly appreciate it. Share it across social media so others are notified of this video, and subscribe, because it really does help support the channel. And if you want to go one step further, financially support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or join me on Rumble, Patreon, or Facebook for exclusive content as well. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope to catch you all very, very soon.